Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today we have two very, very, very special guests. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
I am Kimber and better known as Seth Hanshy's mom, and Kimber, and this is, what's your name, boy? Tell them.
Seth.
How are you guys?
Good. Hey, nice. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm Josh.
Nice to meet you guys.
Cool.
Where are you out of?
I'm out of Roanoke, Virginia.
Oh, okay, cool. I heard it's beautiful there. I've never been. I'd love to go to Shenandoah Valley and all that to see it. I heard it's so pretty there.
It is, definitely. It's a very, very small town.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about yourselves and kind of, get our followers up to date on how everything's going.
Okay. Well, I'm Seth's advocate. Seth, you want me to give a little bit of background, Josh? Of what?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So, Seth had graduated at the age of 15. He was in college to be a nurse at the age of 17 years old. Full-time youth pastor. Brilliant. Walked around with a dictionary in his back pocket at the age of 8. Trying to impress everybody and wow us with his vocabulary skills. But on September 28, 2011, we're coming up on the 11th year anniversary. We celebrate that because it's his rebirth day, we call it. We're excited because I just finished Seth's book called Push Through It. It's part of his mantra, which is quitting lasts forever, pain lasts for a moment, so push through it. That was actually his mantra even before he got ran over. So Seth was training for a triathlon, and he was on a 60-mile bicycle ride. His goal was to do the Ironman, and he had just come in from college that day, got on his bike, went for a ride, had all of his gear on and doing all the right things, and he was struck from behind by an 81-year-old woman in a van. He did not brake till she hit him. It was clear visibility, so there was no issues. It just was someone who did not need to be driving, really. It threw him 160 plus feet. He landed on the highway. He died at the scene twice. They airlifted him to a trauma center a little over an hour away, and that's where they removed the left side of his skull to accommodate the swelling of his brain. He was in a coma. They did not expect him to live through the night, and I don't know if I mentioned he died at the scene twice. And so when he woke up from the coma 10 days later, they told us that he would be in a perpetual state of vegetation. He'd be vegetated. He'd never know anything, never know who he was, who we were, nothing. And wouldn't know how to do anything and have no memories. And that's just part of the list. It was a really long list of what he'd never do again. And so I had never had anyone in my family that even had disability. So it was being thrown into the middle of the ocean and having to learn to navigate. Well, 10 days later, Seth came out of that coma. They told us we needed to institutionalize him, that we were not capable medically to take care of him. And the amazing thing is, they did tell us, by the way, that he would never get better. And refused to believe that. I said, I've changed his diapers before. If that's my purpose in life, then I'll just change his diapers again at the age of 17. Well, they sent him from there to New Orleans Children's Hospital. And it was in that hospital that they were 3 months later able to get him up on his feet and get him to take his first step. He was still hemiparalysis, which is half of your body paralyzed. The left side of your brain controls the right side. right side controls the left. So he was still paralyzed, and they were able to get him to take some steps assisted, and they sent him home 5 months later in a wheelchair and a diaper. He could not still get up out of the bed by himself, walk unassisted, anything like that. And he had acquired Apraxia and Aphasia. So broca aphasia, which affects the speech. It's where your mind it knows what it wants to do. It cannot execute the movement. So it's like your wires are cut, basically. And so a lot of people ask, Seth is 28, and they ask, is he all there? And yeah, he's pretty darn smart, smarter than a lot of people I know that don't have a brain injury. But he did have to relearn to do literally everything. And from the smallest thing, brushing his teeth, all of that. So I say that to our message for Team Seth is whatever your pain is, whatever happens to you, we have things that happen that we didn't plan for, but whatever happens, that you can push through it, like Seth Monster says, like the name of the book is. You can push through it, and you can take your pain. And when you're able to bring healing to someone else by giving what you need, it is the most empowering feeling to know that pain was not wasted. Because a lot of people get stuck at that why, and they don't know how to move forward. They get bitter, angry, throw in the towel, give up on life. But as long as you're breathing, there's still life to live.
Yeah, and I've watched as many of your videos as I possibly could. And my wife and I were watching your YouTube channel last night, and to see what you've gone through to where you are now, I mean, that's definitely an inspiration to a lot of people, myself included. It makes you think that you think you have it bad, but there are other people that are struggling with a lot more than you realize.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you guys are supporting us and enjoying the Team Seth journey. So thank you. Thank you for your words of encouragement.
Awesome, God. Oh, God.
Yeah, our faith, Josh, if it was not for our faith, we would not have made it through this. And I'm a pastor, but I'll tell you, I went through a very dark place myself because, you can be doing all the right things and people assume I'm doing all the right things, nothing bad's going to happen. And that's the furthest from the truth. Life happens. Yeah. And whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, if you're doing the wrong thing, you're setting yourself up for, something stupid happening. But when you're doing the right things and something hits you out of nowhere and it just throws the trajectory of your life into a completely different direction than you had planned out. You did the ABCs. He was in school, like I said, in college to be a nurse. His dream was to take ministry with him and get to travel all over the world and get it paid for by being a travel nurse, him and his sister, Sierra. And that dream did not come true. And so a lot of people just kind of go, okay, well, I failed my class in college. I'm not going to be able to be a doctor. I didn't get accepted. I didn't get accepted in law school, or I just failed kinesiology altogether, or whatever they're in. And they just give up. And what I have found firsthand is Seth's life does not look like what he had planned. But he has been able to touch more people's lives in the most amazing, positive impact, and make a difference. And, I think that's the thing that most people miss. They miss that we're all here for a reason. We all have purpose, and we're here to make a difference. And whatever that looks like, whether it's teaching or volunteering or just helping a widow down the street who has nobody to mow her yard. It's literally taking the life that's inside of you and impacting someone else's life outside of your comfort zone and making a difference. the smallest thing. It gives you meaning and purpose to life.
Yeah. And, being able to help your fellow man, no matter how big or small, I think helps broaden your life just a little bit every time you do it.
Absolutely. I think it gives you meaning. I watched Seth. The amazing thing about Seth, yes, I'm his mom. My womb is so proud that I gave him space and gave him birth. Gave birth to him. But I will say this. I watch him every day. I get the front row seat of his arena in his life. And I see the days that he really struggles. And a brain injury is really hard. I mean, you add to it the communication issues. And Seth, one of the things he told me, there's two things that really bothered him the most. And a lot of people ask that question. But one of the things that bothers him the most is people assume he's not all there because of the communication deficit. The second thing is, he used to be this really deep, introspective, deep thought, loved to have these really deep, logical conversations, like philosophy and all of this stuff, And so he said that he misses having the depth of conversation because in his mind, he said he's saying it. Like he will hear other people, us, or other people sitting around talking about, these really deep concepts and thoughts. And the most frustrating thing, and he's told us it feels like he's a ghost. He feels invisible because he has the conversation in his head, but he can't articulate it out. And I would liken that to being locked in a glass box. Like, hey, can anybody hear me? I'm over here. I'm saying all of this stuff. And boy, I'm really intellectual and it's really deep thoughts. I wish you could hear it. But no one hears it. So he has to keep that inside himself. And but I've watched this kid go through dark places. And I talk really transparently about that in the book. But he's also gone to places that bring him through that. And one of those was when he died, he walked to Christ. And it was a beautiful, I talk about that in the book, that, God gave me the same vision that night. And I had no idea that that's where Seth truly was. I thought it was God giving me peace about the situation with the vision that he gave me. But later, when Seth came home and was able, many months later, to articulate somewhat, and we were good at his charades, I'll say it that way. He was able to explain to us that when he died, he literally walked to Christ. And Christ told him to come back, that he had a great purpose yet to fulfill. And that's the same thing that I saw. And then there's a whole lot more detail to that. But it's an amazing story. And he inspires me because I would have already given up. I would have been like, y'all just put me in the closet, leave me alone, shut the door, and let me die. And Seth is not like that. He powers through.
And that's the amazing thing that I think that once I came across your Instagram page, I started trying to go through as much content as I could possibly consume. And you could see the progress from where Seth was after the accident to where he is now. And, I watched a video last night of him going to Walmart and buying groceries and cooking. And it's just like, that makes you think that you can do anything that you want to. Just takes a lot of heart and a lot of hard work.
And not quitting. That there's a silly saying, we used to say it when we were kids, at first you don't succeed, try and try and try and try again, right? But a lot of times we get so disheartened because we try and then we go, well, we tried. But the truth is, and I draw so much of what brings me through and what has gotten Seth even through is the Word of God is so relevant because, like, when you think about it, he says, okay, you knock and you keep knocking. Persistence, endurance. He talks about that constantly, about just enduring. Just keep on. Don't quit on your worst day because you will get through whatever it is you feel like you're going to die in the middle of if you just keep moving. And I think that's been Seth's philosophy from the get-go is, I said this yesterday, Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote, and he's got many, but one of my favorites is something that I thought about with Seth, and I've posted it so many times through the years, and that is, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, just keep moving forward. And this dude right here, that should be tattooed on his heart because his spirit is like a lion. He just keeps going. He's like the ever-ready bunny. I think, okay, this is it. It's another setback. It's another disappointment. It's another, my life, okay, I had it figured out. And, when he was told he couldn't powerlift anymore, Joshua just took it into a different direction and was going into the Paralympics. And they noticed, that he had this leaking of the brain fluid again. And they were like, stop. You can't do anything. You can't pick up anything heavier than a mill jug. Well, that's a power lifter. And that became his new identity. So to see that, that even that, like it's been multiple setbacks, and he just keeps on moving forward.
Yeah, and it's like you said, but through the darkest days, there's always light at the end. You'll end up where you want to be.
Yeah.
Hometown, oh God.
Oh God.
That's what.
Yeah. And Seth does that. If y'all see any of the other videos, you'll see him always pointing up. When he won the gold, when he was competing, he's always pointing up. And he does that. He points and looks up, and he does that because he knows our strength comes from God. He got up off that road only by the grace of God. And so we're very much aware that we're just characters in the story, but God's writing the story, and He orders our steps. And so we just keep walking.
And
You can ask him questions, Josh, and I'll shut up.
Money.
And so, and there's that.
So I have to ask, I've seen a lot of your videos. What is your favorite activity, favorite hobby now? I know it's hard to choose.
Half and half. Two. Gym.
Yeah, he's looking in the field.
Yeah. And walk. A lot.
So this is Forrest Gump's love child. Okay? He didn't get the walk from me. It's funny. When I preached yesterday, I was talking about the title was Keep on Running. And I was talking about when Seth came home that I had started the Brain Injury Foundation because I said, this is not going to be the dark cloud, that defines us. I wanted people to say, that's when they talk about us, like, oh, that's so sad, that poor kid, he had so much potential, and did you hear, it's so tragic. I wanted them to be inspired because I needed to be inspired. And I wanted to give what I needed, and I needed hope. I didn't need another scripture, and I'm a pastor. I knew enough scripture. I didn't need to hear another scripture. I was like a man in the Bible named Thomas. I just needed to see somebody's scars that was told, you're not going to make it through this. You'll never come out of this alive. And I needed to see somebody stand in front of me that was told what we were told about Seth. He'll never do this. He'll never do that. And they can stand in front of me and say, the doctor told me the same thing, but look at me. I just ran a 5K. well, or whatever it is. I became a power lifter and I was paralyzed on the right side. I went back to school because he went back to school and got his massage therapy degree. So
I saw that.
yeah. So that's why I started the Brain Injury Foundation to give hope. And the amazing thing is, I told him, I'll never forget, I was like, I had never ran a 5K. I know I look like I'm in such good shape and I'm such an exercise enthusiast, but I'm not. And never have been at that. But it was so funny because Seth was in a wheelchair and he had a brace on the right hand, brace on the right leg. And I was like, we're going to do, he came home 2 days before his 18th birthday. I said, a year from now is, you're going to be 19. I'm scheduling a 5K and we're going to run it. If I have to push you around the whole track in your wheelchair, we're doing it, but we're running it together. Now, I never trained. I didn't do from the couch to 5K app, nothing like that. But I talked about it yesterday. It was so cool because Seth had just got where he could run, like jog. And his balance was still so bad that there was on this park, we would go out to a park here, and it was this track that went around the little lake they have there, and there was some roots that would be sticking up. And Seth would be so afraid that I was going to step over them and trip because he would trip on something like literally, you know, didn't have to be that tall. He couldn't get his feet up high. And so he'd be so afraid, like, take my arm when we're fixing to go there, like I'm decrepit or something, and help me over to make sure I didn't stumble or fall. And he still could not really articulate well. But one thing he could do, and I watched this kid push through so much hell, fight hell itself to get back the life that he had. And here he is, you know, jogging beside me because I wasn't running, Joshua. That was not my goal. I started out that way, and then I realized, you know what, I'm going to walk a 5K. I ain't going to be running a 5K and dying on the track, people tripping over me. So to keep from being a trip hazard, I decided to walk it, okay? But Seth was beside me, and I would be so tired, and which is really sad. I would be so tired and want to just quit because I'm like, I can't do this. I'm too old for this. You know, wah. And Seth loves to show me my little baby violin when I started. But, yeah, wah. I think to say that real good. Wah. So he would come up beside me, though, and he would put his hand on my back. Now, he could only do this. Up. Like, come on. And he couldn't even say, come on, clear. Go. Up. And I knew what it meant. Keep my mind up and focus on God. And with God, I could do all things. And you can't quit when you got somebody who has every reason to quit. Every excuse, nobody would have even looked at him sideways and said, you're such a loser. You know, he would have just tapped out. But he didn't. And so it made me push ahead. I think it's really inspiring when you have somebody in front of you to look at that, like I said, they have every reason to quit, but they just keep on going. And it makes you feel foolish that you're going to be trying to quit when they're not. They just keep pushing through it.
Now, I did see, Seth, where you ran, was it a marathon, like a year after the accident? What was that like, that sense of accomplishment?
The one you ran with Tommy. What was that called? The Hell, Run Through Hell or something like that? Yeah, the 5K was a year after. Joshua, the one that was actually a half marathon is what it was, I think.
Okay.
It might have been a whole. But that marathon happened probably about, 4 or 5 years later. 5 years later.
Okay.
Yeah, Hotter Than Hell, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was a funny name. It had hell in it, okay? That's all I remember.
Yeah.
But he did it, and he competed with the man that was training with him at that time, named Tommy, and they ran it. And He still has that medal, one
Yeah.
more medal to put with all the other ones. But it was definitely a feat. How did that make you feel?
Yeah. Um, Tommy, fast, more, run, up, knee, low, run, low, yeah, so,
But you did it.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, oh God, the whole year.
The interesting thing, Josh, I'm sorry, Joshua. The interesting thing is that Seth is helping train a young lady who had a brain injury. And he's working out with her at the gym. And we've been posting some of those videos when we're doing them live. But it's amazing seeing him actually work and walk it out, to see him helping someone else, because the benefit of exercise was so good. Number one, it releases dopamine, so you actually feel more optimistic and feel better when you're able to do that. But he recently lost 60 pounds, and he's like below 300. He has not been below 300 in many years. Many years. But he is now below 300 pounds. He's at 295. And he did that by walking, and I'm not talking about walking like I would walk. I'm talking about walking like 3 and 4 hours a day. It's crazy. I don't know how he does it, but people see him walking all over, because we live in a small town, and it's a university town. And we see him, they'll see him walking through town or whatever. And they probably assumed his stroke broke down, but it didn't. He's just walking. He will walk to Walmart. He walks in the rain. He takes all those people that find excuses real easy, feel like really stupid and lazy.
I do like that. I do like the optimistic, upbeat, never say no mentality of I'm not going to quit, because you don't see that nowadays. You just don't.
Not politically correct, but I was saying they give awards now for just competing, and things that used to be hard earned. Take the pride in you, look in the mirror, reflect, and stare back. You have great respect for it. That only comes by doing the hard thing on the day that you would say and win, right? But,
Yeah.
But it's really neat to see other people. I think it's really neat to grab it out of the handbag and just say, not today, not today. And you don't have to just don't have that attitude. You just got that great attitude.
Yeah, and the other thing that I found very, very amazing is some of the videos that you guys have on Instagram, where you guys are going in and ordering food and things of that nature, to see how patient people are in a not so patient society.
Yeah. Well, here's the behind the scenes. Ready? You get the first one. But the behind the scenes, Joshua, is this. Their attitude always, amazingly, gets really good when they see a camera and we say, hey, we video for TikTok. Is it okay if we video? They might have the worst, because we don't say anything.
Rude and hey, oh my God. Oh my God.
It's
Yeah.
fake.
Oh my
It's
God.
not fake. There's I will say there are a handful of genuinely that, but most of the people that do it, we have to see, if it was just ourselves, we would push through it. But when it is, I'm happy to funky attitude. You know what I'm saying when they deal with him. And most people don't realize that he has trouble communicating. But it's not as many nice people with good attitudes as you think. They become nice and good when a camera is in their face or rolling. But like I said, there are some that are genuinely, they're just nice people. But most people are not like that. They all of a sudden transform, when they see the camera on.
And that is very true. I didn't think about that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that you disappeared, Joshua. We can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can still see you. It might just be the maybe the internet or something like that.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about the foundation and how much is Seth involved in that?
So we have a 501c3. Like I said, we started the Team Seth Foundation for Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness. That was in 2012 as soon as Seth came home. That's when it started. But what we actually do is we do a lot of things to bring awareness. There's nobody on salary. When the IRS comes and audits your foundation and they tell you have to start taking the money, ma'am, for expenses, you cannot just take in money and then just give it away. You have to do something that shows that you're, a valid business. But that is one of the things that we do is we bring awareness. We have recently started working with the military because they actually have the brain injury, by the way. It's one of the number one injuries that they're coming back from being in, foreign soil or defending our freedom and protecting our coast. They're coming back with a brain injury. It could be from a concussion or anything. And then there's people that have strokes that deal with the Apraxia and the Aphasia. So, and I've seen many on TikTok, and they even will tag us in those. But the foundation we work really hard to bring awareness to brain injury, and that's one of the things we do. We were being able to send some of the money to help these kids with brain injury, just a little bit of a gift to help, because insurance does not cover. But when I say a smidge, I mean a smidge of what therapy people with brain injury have to deal with. And so they typically go without any therapies at all up to a certain point, So we were gifting them. And then I also started doing caregiver retreats because the caregivers, you can't quit. You can't just clock in and, or call in and say, hey, I'm calling out sick today, or I'm taking a vacation. It just doesn't happen that way. The caregivers have a load on them that nobody knows unless you walk a mile in their shoes. So that's some of the things we do. And then we speak publicly. We speak at the university here where we live at Louisiana Tech. We speak there twice a semester. And we do whatever we can to motivate and inspire and encourage other people to get through whatever it is they're fighting to get through.
Very cool. I'm definitely going to have to post all the links for it in the description. But I do have a question for you, Seth. I saw where you ate the ghost pepper pork rinds? How was that?
No, Bill.
The hot one.
Yeah. Bill, hot, fun, good.
They were good.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't tried them, Joshua. I'm not planning on it.
Yeah.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
every time you'd grab one and you'd say it was hot, you'd go back for another.
It's like it hurts so bad.
Yeah, no, but more. Good. Yeah. So, half.
I couldn't do that. I, so, what's your favorite kind of food to cook at home?
This. Yeah, well,
Eggs.
yeah.
Eggs.
Yeah, and and plus coconut oil.
He puts it in coconut oil.
Yeah.
I saw that video.
Seeing him rub himself down with coconut oil. So, FYI, nobody uses the jar coconut oil.
Yeah.
I have my own that I cook with. We do not touch that. It might have body hair in it from his head.
Hey, Spence news rates. Yeah. Nice. 2, coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
2 tablespoons.
Yeah.
You just eat them.
Around. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
He does really just like wolf it down.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not bad in oatmeal.
It's best. Yeah. Best. Good.
No.
So, coconut and pork. That.
He's a gourmet chef. That's what it is. Gourmet.
Yeah. So real beautiful. That red.
It is. So coconut oil is really, really good for your brain.
Yeah.
And they have done scientific research that even with Parkinson's, it's helping to repair the brain cells.
Yeah.
And
Really?
yeah.
Super.
And it gives you really good energy.
Yeah.
And it's really good for you. So he actually has a really good point. And then blueberries are really good. And there's a lot of other things that we have in that book that I talk about. Like I have an ebook list of things that I did to help Seth recover. And so there's a lot of tips in there and stuff. And I'm actually revising that right now. So it can be re-released on Amazon when I release the book.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, I do have another question for you, Seth. Going through the school to become a massage, is it a massage therapist?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah. No. 2 years caught us. Yeah. So yeah. Real long. Real best ever. Yeah.
Joshua, I will tell you, this is the thing about school. And I go into detail about it too. But and if I'm shamelessly promoting the book, I am, because there's so many things people ask us that I was like, okay, when I started writing, I was like, what are some things y'all want to know? So the book was written, it's Seth's story, but it's written for the Team Seth fans or family, as we call it. But it's stuff that they specifically said, what about this? What happened then? What about that? Well, with the massage therapy school, one of the things I learned, which was unfortunate, like I said, there was nobody I knew that had a disability. I became an advocate out of necessity and by default. And then the thing that I found out is like with the massage therapy school, I had to go in and advocate, constantly advocate for him to be accommodated with his injury, with his disability. And then when it was time to take the state exam, I mean, then it's a whole nother ball game. And we fought the state of Louisiana for a couple of years, actually, and we had advocate disability attorneys that were even helping. And there was nothing that was something that they could use to go back on that. What is that called? A pre, no. Never mind. I cannot believe you're zoning now. I am so shocked, Alicia. Oh, she's doing TikTok live. Hey guys. Precedent. That's that legal word. Precedent. There was no legal precedent that had been established for someone with his disability that would get accommodated at that level of accommodation for the state exam. So that's one of the things. That's why I say when you have somebody, you say, hey, I'm going to be an advocate. You learn to drive a bulldozer through a lot of brick walls and red tape because, my gosh, there is so much. It's shocking how difficult it is and how easy you could fall through the cracks, I call it, in the system. But for Seth, I've just learned to just keep following up. And Seth used to mock me. He would imitate me because he would show I was smiling, but I would be like telling people off.
How are you? Good.
That's not true. That's exaggerated. But well, kind of. But you have to, you have to pester people. I don't like doing it. I would prefer to do something else in my time, but the facts are, honestly,
super mom.
Thank you. Super bowl. So one of the things you just figure out really quickly is if you forget, people might say with good intention, yeah, we're going to put him on the list. Yeah, it'll be in the mail tomorrow, the papers or whatever. And I learned really early on. I had a notebook, Johsua, and I just kept notes in there. And my morning would start with getting Seth up, getting the diapers changed, getting sheets off the bed because we wash sheets. I pour washing machine, washing sheets and sheets and sheets. I mean, he was a grown dude, And that kind of thing is what exhausts a caregiver. And then on top of that, you have to turn around and start advocating. So I had a notebook of people, long list. Who do I call? And then if they wasn't the right one, I'd say, who do I call? Who do I call? Yeah. Can you help me? Please help me. And I learned to share Seth's story with everybody because I did not want them to know. I didn't want them to just see, this patient with a disability. And that started in the hospital. I figured out quickly if a new nurse was assigned, I would just immediately say, look, before you start, let me tell you who this is. And I would just start telling about Seth. I didn't want them to think this kid was out clubbing and, he was drunk driving and got in a wreck and that's how he got a brain injury because people will stereotype you. Especially now that he's tattooed. Johsua, you got tattoos. I've seen them. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
People immediately stick him in this mold without knowing the story behind it. And there's a lot of times he walks through businesses and stuff that he'll say something to someone to Seth. Every person he passes, he's like, how are you? How are you? How are you? How are you doing? Talks to everybody. And I think he's running for political office. I'm not sure. But he's, I'm looking for him to kiss babies and get pictures with him any day now. But he'll talk to him, and a lot of times they'll just be like, no contact. I'm not going to look. I'm going to look away. Because they just assume he's just, some thug.
Yeah.
Of course he ain't. He's just a teddy bear. But that's mainly one of the things you have to do is you just got to keep pushing or they'll fall through the crack, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do have a question about the about your merchandise that you guys are you have up on the website. Who comes up with the designs? Because I like your shirt a lot.
Thank you. Are you talking about this shirt? The cross?
Yeah.
Cross? That's actually part of his tattoo. The interesting story is that was one of Seth's first, it was actually his second tattoo. And it's kind of the same symbols on his bracelet. And it has the mantra. These bracelets, by the way, so 100% of the proceeds, when they do order the bracelets from Team Seth, it goes to the Team Seth Foundation. And anything that you buy, all of that goes to Team Seth Foundation. But we're working on some new designs. We're excited about that. But his tattoo is the inspiration for the logo of Team Seth. And the story behind that is at the age of 16, Seth was a youth pastor, and he told us he wanted this tattoo. And it's the one that's actually on his arm now. It's on Seth. Don't punch me, boy. You're going to be like, you're going to see Jesus another day. Okay. This right here is the actual tattoo that was on his screensaver. He had told us he wanted this tattoo. The only difference is where it says Romans 8:28. You can't see because of all the fur. It's kind of faded looking because of the fur. But his saying is, it's all good. And he actually preached this the night before and talked about the purpose and destiny of God that's inside of you. And then nothing the enemy does can take it away. And then boom, he gets ran over and his speech taken, of all things, right? But the story behind the tattoo is he was still in ICU. And we had just got the phone back from the state trooper. And it was like literally he woke up from the coma right after that. We plugged this up. We just got this really bad report again, which was constant. Be one step forward, 20 backwards all the time. It was so emotional. And plugged this phone up, couldn't get in it, but this was the screensaver. And so I call it kisses from heaven because it was like God kept sending these little signs, these little bitty signs. It might be a person saying something, or it might be something that come up on my memories, or, or the phone screensaver being that of all things that says it's all good. All things work together for the good of those who are called according to, who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And so that's Seth, he said it's his favorite scripture. That's the story behind the logo. That was the second tattoo he got. Yeah. And the only difference was Romans 8:28, it's all good, was in red. That's the only difference of the tattoo.
Sorry.
You just run over my toe.
Sorry, Shakamana.
No, I'm going to say Shakamana
Baya.
And his shirts say push through it, and that is from the book. This one is one of the first ones that says Soul Scars, but the new ones say push through it.
It's really amazing to hear your story and to be able to share that with people that follow us. Like I said it earlier, you guys are, you are a huge inspiration to not only myself, but you're also proof that with the will and the drive and the heart and having that faith that you can do anything.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Seth always points here, and he always says you have to win here first.
Yeah.
You get up here before you get up, right?
My stuff.
It's always a mental. Yeah, it's always a mental struggle first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bam.
Battle is in the mind.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Well,
I do not need to be chewing gum on a podcast. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. I appreciate everything. You know, I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing the story and talking with me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you for inviting us on. And
Absolutely.
thank you guys for supporting the Team Seth Foundation, being a part of his journey and being a Team Seth family member. And we appreciate it. We appreciate the continued support, encouragement, and the prayers. And more's coming. We're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited. This is not the crescendo yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
Well, I hope, you know, things keep going great. And I hope you do really well with the massage therapy, because it seems like that's definitely a very big passion that you have.
Yeah, and he's really good at it, by the way. He's really good at it. But thank you, Joshua. And we appreciate you inviting us on today.
Yeah. Hey, I pray.
He prays at the end of all of his TikToks. I don't know if that's
Sure.
something that you would be okay with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, hey, I'm the one thing for God and me. So
It's in his language that
Yeah.
God gave him. And he said God understands everything he's saying.
Yeah.
So I think he's basically saying he's got the hook up, and we're the ones that don't know how to speak right. That's what I think he's saying.
Right?
So he's going to pray in his language, Joshua.
Okay.
Pokoka malayeka le dauro pori ka le rika yika. Poko hiki movi hika yeka. Maria kaya hoya pa yeka mareoka ya. Pa yekolo maria ko. Poge kaya nana maria kola yeka ya hoya. Isheka yeka ya po hiki. Ishi po yeka ya. Pa yekaya. Bola yeka. Maroka yeka yiko le pori. Shishika Marika, Darana Namayeka Yeka, Boloria Marohe, Marieka Yeka, Marika Marika Yepa, Moroka Yika Mariki, Shishishi, Bohi, Modereka, Marika. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Hey,
And
yeah. I love you, brother.
same. I just love the enthusiasm when in the drive that you have. It's definitely something everybody can learn something from.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you.
Bless
You're
you.
welcome.
Bless you. That's our dog that is a talker, and she will not shut up. That's who's been going like grunting. So that's her. He's like telling Seth, okay, let me get a word in edgewise for a minute, please. So thank you, guys.
Well,
Bless you,
absolutely.
Joshua.
Thank you.
Bless your podcast, too.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You guys have a great night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.